All right, I think we're ready to begin. It is now 7 o'clock, October 17th, 2022. I'd like to call the town meeting to order. If I could ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So traditionally, we wait until the spring before we recognize those who have passed while serving the town in any capacity, but I'm going to break that tradition somewhat by recognizing the recent passing of Clark Alderman. Clark loved his job at the Senior Center the past few years, and you could always depend on him for a smile and a warm greeting like he met you for the first time. After battling stage 4 cancer, he finally succumbed to the disease on September 30th. He will be sorely missed by the staff and those who sought help from Clark within the Senior Center. In fact, we're asking everybody, hopefully some people did this, is to bring food for the food pantry in memory of Clark. But I also like to do in memory of him as well is just to give him the justice he deserves with a moment of silence. Thank you. I would also like to thank all those of you who are attending tonight. I see a lot of new faces on top of the people that have been here before. Some of you may be here for the very first time for the town meeting. So I'm going to do something that I don't usually do. I'm going to run through the process just so everybody's aware of how this is going to play out. When you all walked through the door, you should have all received a packet. Did everybody have a packet? It's called the warrant. Okay? That's very, very important. Okay? Within the warrant are articles. Okay? Is there anybody here who doesn't have a warrant? I think I heard somebody say they don't. Okay. So within the warrant are articles that detail exactly what you are voting for. For each article, a motion is made by the corresponding presenters of the article. Now, some of these motions will refer to the wording within the article. Okay? I ask everyone to familiarize themselves with the articles so you understand exactly what you're voting for. Okay? And as we go on, you'll see what I'm talking about. Once a motion is made, I will ask for a second. From there, I will ask for a recommendation from the Warrant and Finance Committee or the Planning Board, depending on the question itself. I will open it up after that to discussion. After discussion, we will then put it to vote. I ask that anyone addressing an article for discussion to please go to the microphone that's situated right after this first row here. Ta-da! Okay, we got Vanna White over there showing us where it is perfectly. Please state your name and address for the record. Please make sure you speak directly into the microphone so everyone can hear you. Okay, there won't be an exception to this rule. I will limit debate on any article by an individual to 3 minutes during the discussion phase. I ask that you keep all comments centered on the article and away from disparaging remarks towards individuals or committees. I hope everyone understands that we're all here for the betterment of Sutton. Please respect all individuals who are expressing thoughts and opinions during the discussion phase. Also need to talk through some other general rules before tonight's proceedings. Non-residents or non-voting members of the audience should be seated in the first few rows to my right here. That's why we kicked you out, okay? However, some people will be asked to speak if there's an interest within the articles. So they must be recognized by the moderator before they speak, but there may be some people that will speak against an article. For the record, the town of Sutton has adopted Chapter 39, Section 15 of the general laws requiring a 2/3 vote by statute. The vote need not be counted unless the reported results of the vote are immediately questioned by 7 or more registered voters in attendance at this meeting. Fortunately, we do not have this requirement for tonight's articles because all of them are basically majority, except for one that's 4/5 of a vote. Prior to the meeting, we had 4 tellers sworn in prior. Because of the importance of the last article, Article 14, which potentially could change how we conduct town meetings in the future, we will be conducting a hand vote for each section of the auditorium, and the reason why I wanted to make sure we're consolidated. We will then tabulate the votes to determine if the article passes or not. This decision is solely mine, so not to put the question or the validity of the question of the vote if we did it verbally. Okay, this is too important to this town to do it verbally. Article 14 is also a simple majority. So I don't want to leave it up to people yelling louder than the other group. So I think this will be a little bit fairer. I will dispense with the reading of the warrant. The town clerk will note the return of the warrant was properly posted and properly returned. Thank you, Laura. And with that confirmation, we'll now move on to Article 1, sponsored by the Select Board.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the vote taken on Article 6 of the May 9, 2022 annual meeting by adjusting the line items as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation?
The Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This is a budgetary line item adjustment from the May 9, 2022 town meeting.
Okay, it's now open for discussion. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Article 1 passes by unanimous vote. Article 2.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $1 million and appropriate $500,000 to the FY 2023 OPEB expense account and $500,000 to the roadway improvements account.
Okay, FinCom, your recommendation?
The Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee voted 6-0-1 to approve this article. This is an article to transfer funds to fund OPED and road improvements. The one member who abstained is due to conflict with another committee.
Okay. Thank you. Now open for discussion. Also seeing none, all those in favor of Article 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Article 2 passes by unanimous vote. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $350,000 from free cash to the FY 2023 OPEB expense account.
Okay, good motion and a second. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation?
The Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee voted 6-0-1 to approve this article. This is to transfer funds to fund the OPED account. The one member who abstained again was due to a conflict with another committee.
Okay, also open for discussion. Okay, with none, all those in favor of Article 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 3 passes by unanimous vote. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, if I may, I move that the town vote to transfer $150,000 from free cash to the Special Education Tuition Stabilization Fund.
Second.
Thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee?
The Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This goes to the Special Education Stabilization Fund.
Open for discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, Article 4 passes by unanimous vote. We move on to Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move that the town vote to transfer $20,336 from the Compensated Absences Reserve Fund to the fiscal year 2023 sick and vacation buyback budget line item.
Thank you. Get a motion and a second. FinCom, your recommendation?
The Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This is to fund the vacation and sick pay buyback for several grandfathered retirees.
Okay. Open for discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Article 5 passes by unanimous vote. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $10,000 from free cash for the purpose of funding appraisals for the Depot Street Bridge reconstruction project, including all incidental or related costs.
Do we have a second? Second. Thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation.
The committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This is for the Depot Street Bridge reconstruction project.
Okay. Open for discussion. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 6 passes by unanimous vote. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $7,000 from free cash for a survey of the town of Sutton, Chapter 45, Section 3, Restricted Area Plan, Huff Road Project, 23 Huff Road, to confirm the area that is intended to be restricted for park purposes pursuant to the vote taken on Article 16 of the May 9th, 2022 annual town meeting, including all incidental and related costs.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. FinCom, your recommendation?
The committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This is for the survey for the parcel of land on Huff Road for the soccer, baseball, and playground, and that's where the senior center is.
Open for discussion. Okey-doke. All those in favor of Article 7, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Article 7 passes by unanimous vote. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $5,217.82 from free cash for the payment of the following prior year invoices as follows. Christopher Reedy, $2,000, EDMS, $2,234.20, Graves Engineering, $983.62.
Thank you. FinCom, your recommendation?
The committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. Again, this is for prior year invoices.
Okay. This will require a 4/5 vote. So all those in favor of Article 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank goodness, no math involved. Thank you. Article 8 passes by unanimous vote. Article 9, the Sewer Commission.
Jones Road, Sewer Commission. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $500,000 from the sewer connection fees to fund a portion of the costs of the Wilkinsonville Sewer Project, including all incidental or related costs.
We have a second? Second. Thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation?
The committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This is from the Sewer Enterprise Fund for the Wilkinsonville Sewer Project.
Okay. Open for discussion. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Article 9 passes by unanimous vote. Article 10, also by the Sewer Commission.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $60,000 from the sewer connection fees for the purpose of acquiring a sewer pump station easement on property located at 60 Providence Road, including all incidental or related costs.
Second.
Thank you. With a motion and a second, FinCom, your recommendation?
FinCom voted 6-0-1 to approve this article. Again, this is from the Sewer Enterprise Fund for the easement on 60 Providence Road.
Open for discussion. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 10 passes by unanimous vote. Article 11, also by the Sewer Commission.
Carla Capoli, Fuller Road. I move that the town vote to approve Article 11 as printed in the warrant.
Having a motion and a second, FinCom, your recommendation?
The committee voted 601 to approve this article. This is again from the Sewer Enterprise Fund to waive connection fees, which was part of the contractual agreement in obtaining the easement.
Open for discussion. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 11, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 11 passes by unanimous vote. Article 12, also by the Sewer Commission.
I move that the town vote to transfer $110,000 to sewer retained earnings, from sewer retained earning to purchase and install a new generator pump and transfer switch and any other incidental costs associated with the pump station at 40 Whitens Road, including all incidental and related costs.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation?
The committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. This is again from the Sewer Enterprise Fund to purchase a new generator and to pay the rental fee on the one currently in use.
Open for discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, whoops, sorry. Didn't see you. Okay,
Guys, I'm waiting.
okay, all right. All those in favor of Article 12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 12 passes by unanimous vote. Article 13, brought forth by the Planning Board.
Bill Talcott, 17 Marsh Road, member of the Planning Board. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend general bylaws by deleting bylaw number 5, earth removal, in its entirety and replacing it as printed in the warrant.
Second, thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation?
The committee voted 7-0 to approve this article. The committee concurs with the vote of the Planning Board.
In Planning Board, result of your hearing? We'll give you your chance. You're coming.
The Planning Board voted 5-0 to approve this article. Over the last year, the board has been frustrated by earth removal operations of significant scale that technically did not fall within the town's existing bylaws. And as such, there was no ability to require advance notifications and/or public hearings. We were unable to review anything other than potential stormwater impacts and unable to require mitigation. What the bylaw change does, it amends the definition of earth removal to include earth disturbance, whether or not the earth leaves the site. It requires a public hearing process for earth removal over 3,000 cubic yards that does not fall within uses that require permits. It exempts single-family or agricultural uses where all earth stays on site or less than 3,000 cubic yards is removed from the site from any permit process. It requires more complete information for full and abbreviated permit requests. It increases the amount of earth a single-family home or agricultural use may disturb or remove from a site without a permit. It puts applicants on notice that if their project requires blasting, there may be additional requirements. What the bylaw changes doesn't do. It does not require typical single-family or agricultural uses to do any permitting. It doesn't change anything for pre-existing commercial operations, of which there's only one in town. It doesn't change existing minimum permit provisions or operating standards.
Thank you. Now open for discussion. Thank you for your
Eager,
patience.
Sorry on that one.
Nope.
I have to agree almost wholeheartedly with almost everything that Bill said. I'm
Can you
100%
can you speak right into it? Because I think it's.
I'll have to agree with
There you
almost
go.
everything that William said this evening. I'm 100% behind this bylaw. While I don't agree with some of the aspects of this,
Make believe you're doing karaoke.
Okay,
in the shower.
is this
There
better?
You go. There you go.
okay,
Really get
we're
into
good.
it.
All right. I think you have to introduce yourself. My name is James LaPlante, 26 Heritage Road, Sutton, Massachusetts. And while I agree with Bill and his statements, I do find a few inconsistencies with that regarding the fact that on December 17, 2018, the Planning Board did issue special conditions on a permit to Worcester Sand and Gravel. Now, at what time did 2018 and 2022 did this change? They requested that ground monitoring wells be installed. And these could have been mitigated beforehand by, during site plan review, they could have imposed special conditions. So the fact that the town did not have the authority to do that, I don't believe it. I believe it's kind of disingenuous at this time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? If you're going to speak, you're going to have to come to the microphone. Well, unfortunately, this is being televised, so that's the reason why we have everybody get up to the microphone.
So I just want to know where the
If you
3,000.
could introduce yourself, please.
Michael Galley, 10 Purgatory Road. So I just want to know where the 3,000 came from and why we are setting that as the numerical limit.
The
Good news is we
3,000
now get cell service.
Historically, or previously, it was 300 square yards, cubic yards, which was basically not even a cellar hole. The 3,000 expands it to essentially, if you have two of your typical house lots in Sutton with a foundation, each with a pool, do some grading and a garage, that would approximately 3,000. So it increases the amount triggers before you need a permit.
Any further questions? Was that answered to your liking? Or do you have another
You
question?
speaking to me, sir?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Great. Anyone else?
Pretty much what happened in 2018 by the planning board, they denied a permit without special conditions. Now, this is kind of putting the, closing the barn door after the horses have been out. And you all know, you've seen me in meetings, I've spoke to you in meetings. Word for word, this is almost everything that I said during those meetings.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of Article 13, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Article 13 passes by majority vote. Now, before we get on to Article 14, I will remind everybody again, okay? We treat everybody with respect, okay? For or against, all right? Remember, we're all Suttonians here, right? And by the way, it's not Suttonites, it's Suttonians, okay? So let's make sure we all act like neighbors. So with that, Article 14, which is a citizen's petition.
Christine Watkins, 65 McClellan Road. I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaws, bylaw number 3, town meeting, town elections, as printed in the warrant.
We have a second? Thank you. Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee, your recommendation?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee voted 7-0 not to approve this article. While we applaud the citizens who brought this article, It was the consensus opinion of the committee that this is a civic issue and not a legislative issue. This committee is charged primarily with reviewing financial matters. To mandate a quorum and then not to be able to obtain the suggested attendance would, in our opinion, be detrimental to being fiscally responsible. It would then necessitate having to postpone meetings and not have a budget, and we therefore voted not to recommend.
Thank you. It's now open for discussion.
I would like to ask a question first to the town clerk. How many registered voters do we have in the town of Sutton? $7,400.
7,406.
How many are in attendance this evening? 209. So our group who came together in the summer were surprised. Some of us were surprised at a community event when discussion ensued that our town didn't have a quorum. And we said, why? All our boards, all our 501c3s, Robert's rules actually say that a requirement for a quorum is protection against totally unrepresentative action in the name of the body by an unduly small number of persons. So we took the time in the summer to kind of query. We reached out to the Secretary of State to find out how many of the 312 towns with open or representative meetings actually had a quorum. And the Secretary of State doesn't keep track of that. So we started calling around, and we called 23 different towns. And we reached out to the Town Clerks Association, and one of their members had done a similar query, and they had accumulated the same information. We combined both surveys and ended up with 89 towns that we had surveyed out of the 312. Of those, 67 had a quorum. Some had a quorum of 0. Some of the wealthier communities had 3 to 4% of their voting population. Even West Boylston has 100, and they have, I think, 5,500 voters. Millbury had 100, Oxford had 100, Northbridge had 50, Douglas had 15. So we decided maybe it would be a good idea for us to have them. So addition, we thought, what would be the next question? The next question would be, well, can we get that many people? So at the time, we were figuring 7,200 registered voters, which would be 108 citizens. Can I ask the town manager one quick question? Or the town clerk?
Sure.
So I believe in the home rule charter, department heads, committee heads, and board chairs have to attend town meeting in case there's something on the article or in the warrant that they need to address. So I believe that's why we have non-voters over there. Those are employees who do not reside in the town and are not registered voters. So how many of those people are here tonight as far as what is required? How many board, chair, department heads are registered voters in Sutton who are required to be here by the home rule charter?
I haven't taken attendance, but I think all the department heads are here.
So I believe that's about 29 people. So at 7,200 registered voters, 1.5% of the registered voters would be 108 people. 29 of those people already are supposed to be here without a reasonable excuse, according to our home rule charter. So our group did not feel that it was unreasonable to ask for that amount. Then we looked at the breakdown between spring and fall town meetings. And we went back to 2009, there were 13 meetings, and we eliminated 2020 due to COVID. That left us with 12. So at the spring town meetings, 8 out of the 12 are at 100 or above, which is, some of them were at 102, so that's slightly less than the 108. There was another one that was at 96 and another one that was 89, within striking distance of the number we're asking for. So that's 10 out of 12 of the spring town meetings are pretty much almost there. The difference came in the fall. In the fall, we seemed to only get about 4 out of 12 of those meetings would have met that mark. And when we have a big issue, police station, library, marijuana, solar panels, a new school project, we have an amazing turnout, anywhere between 5 and close to 700 people. So our group did not feel that this was a big ask. So we were very disappointed to have absolutely no support from the 12 elected and appointed people who are on the Select Board and the Finance and Warrant Committee. We believe that those positions are supposed to represent the voice of the people they represent and not their own personal opinion. And so that is the reason we chose the citizens petition path and didn't go right to the Select Board from the beginning.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? If you could reintroduce yourself again.
James LaPlante, 26 Heritage Road, Sutton, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Regarding, okay, I'm gonna have to do it like this then. I got my
Don't worry, we're all in the same boat.
helping me out. Regarding Article 14, the quorum, you don't have a total or an attendance this evening, correct?
We do. I think we said 200 and
200 and something?
210.
Now, wouldn't 1% of the population represent about 75 people?
I told you math was not my favorite.
It's not my strangest subject
But
either.
I'll believe you.
But thank God I got a phone.
Good.
So basically 75 people. So we would more than triple the requirement of a 1% representation at this moment. The quorum is a no-brainer in my opinion. The Select Board would like you to believe that a quorum is undemocratic when that is far from factual. A quorum, if in place, would require a minimum participation of the populace to vote on the decisions that would affect all of our lives. How is it undemocratic to ask, and I repeat, ask and remind or request people to show up and vote? It is the very heart of our republic, we the people. We decide what happens, not a smaller percentage or what the selectmen request. If you listen or attended a 9/27/22 Select Board meeting, a percentage of the board stated that the residents of Sutton are apathetic. What is the definition of apathetic? Showing no feeling, interest, enthusiasm, or concern? So basically, in the opinion of the Board of Selectmen or a small percentage, you're all lazy. You don't care. You don't want to show up and vote. And a quorum would require that. Let me give you a scenario. Annual town meeting. Several articles on the warrant with significant impact on the residents, but only 29 people show up. And I believe at one point you listed that only 29 people did show up at a meeting. So say 2 members of the board have 14, 15, 16 family members that show up that night, that article passes. Not because you are represented, but their interests are represented. I'm going to close on that. I'm not going to get into name calling or anything like that, but a quorum represents the basis of our democracy and our republic, and any attack against that is unjustified. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So just a reminder, I'm not going to put a stopwatch on anybody, but again, we sort of want to limit it to make sure that you get your message across. But if we could stay within the 3 to 5 minutes, I'd appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, David Serpernot, 37 Dudley Lane. I just want to speak on this issue of the quorum from the standpoint, I think it is a great idea to have this room packed at every town meeting, but it's not the reality of what most towns are facing right now in the Commonwealth. 2 of my colleagues are actually town council in some of the surrounding towns, and they've been telling me that it's been more and more difficult, even pre-pandemic, to meet the quorum requirements that some of the towns have. One of my partners is town council in Clinton. I just want to tell you what's happened there. They used to have a requirement of 300 for the annual, 250 for the special. Reduced it in 1991 to 250 and 200, and then further reduced it in 2009 to 200 and 150. And they were still having problems achieving a quorum. They have about 15,000 people in their town, so slightly larger than us. We're about 62% of that population. At the 2021 annual meeting, there was a motion made to eliminate the quorum completely.
It did not pass, but an amended warrant amendment did pass on the floor, and that amendment was to reduce the quorum requirement to 50 for the annual and 30 for the special. And in talking with my colleagues, more and more towns are having problems reaching quorums. So I think the comments from the Finance Committee are well taken, quite frankly, that the town still has to function. I think if we could figure out other ways to get people here, that'd be terrific. But I think putting in a requirement that's going to make it difficult for the town to run is not the way to proceed. So I would recommend against. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Gregory King, 4 Blackstone Street. I just want to say I support this bill, this amendment full-heartedly. Essentially, I think part of it will lie on the town to do more to try to get people to these town meetings. And that, again, falls on all of us to try to get, civic participation within our town. I actually teach civics in the town of Grafton, and nothing more important here than the town meeting, our town legislature, and getting more people to participate, because it's thousands of dollars that we're voting on in these town meetings, and it's a shame that we don't have more people here.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Norman Champagny, 72 8 Lots Road, Sutton, Mass. Proud to be a Suttonian. But a couple of notes here. One thing is I'm concerned about what's the detail of why, right, to vote against this? Any details you can share here with the public? What were the concerns, right? What led to come to such a vote?
Thank you. David Hall, 109 Hartness Road. My reason for not supporting it is simply what Mr. Serpenant just spoke about, is
Fair.
that, in the documents that were provided to us, like half of the town meetings didn't have enough people to be able to have the quorum and actually hold the town meeting. So it's really about, and some of them weren't even close. We're talking about meetings with people like 50 people at the meeting. So, my concern is just that we won't be able to actually conduct the business of the town. So, I don't know how many people are here for the first time, but we went through this almost unanimously, and that's quite common. And I think that that's not really interesting to a lot of people, and they don't come out to town meeting. And yet we have to vote budgets, and we have to vote all these other articles in order to make the town run. So that's my concern.
Okay.
If I kind of understand the background of why we're here tonight, and I'm sympathetic to that. I don't see how this quorum article actually addresses the underlying problem that we're apparently trying to solve. So
Okay.
that's my take.
Fair statement, and I get that. Fair. We're all busy. Everybody here is probably overscheduled and a lot of things to do. I'm gonna be very frank. What got me here tonight was like a postcard shape, right? I've been in business for over 30 years, and I deal with customers all the time, and I have to get their attention. And one thing I've learned is there's nothing wrong with over communication, right? And again, what got me here was that little postcard that was my mailbox and say, yep, I gotta go, right? And I said, yeah, I gotta go. And I know, fully disclosure, I know John reminded me of it, you should attend, and this is my second one. And I want to get involved. And the reason why I want to get involved, and I think like everybody else here, is we just have a look at the DC, right? And we don't want that spreading here. I'm not positioning that you're going to be acting like that. Don't get me wrong. But marketing does help. There are a lot of vehicles that get the word out. They get people here, as we call in marketing back in business world, butts in a seat, right? So my suggestion is to practice the over communication, right? And you'll achieve to get the butts in the seats here. I am not looking at this board here as doing the service. We expect the service, right? This is Republic, right? So I think there are other vehicles to get the concerns of the woman that came up here and saying, we don't want to be disserviced. We don't want to be discounted, right? There's a concern there. We're all limited budgets. We're seeing on the taxes rates, and it may be even raised more, perhaps, the next few years. And you guys in finance do a great job. I keep an eye on things. You do a great job. But to conclude, I'll be helped to volunteer personally what I do in the business world to get the communication out there. So again, my name is Norman Champagny, 72 8 Lots Road. I'll be happy to volunteer my services, right, to increase the seats here to get the buzz and seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it, perfect. Great. Like this? Great. Perfect. Should I step out and come back? No. All right, okay. My name is Andrea Mattei, and I live at 21 Gulf Ridge Drive in Sutton. And I've attended both of the meetings in which the Select Board and the Finance and Warrant Committee considered the quorum. And I'd like to respond to some of the arguments you made to us and to the arguments or the facts that Mr. Supernaut gave, in which our last speaker also commented. So, either talk louder or okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. How's this? Is that better?
Get your lawyer voice.
Hmm?
Do your lawyer voice.
Okay. This is my lawyer voice. Which is apathy. Apathy is a terminal disease, but it is 100% curable when dedicated people in a community take the hand to do the cure. This is not a mandate. No one is saying to any person in Sutton, thou shalt show up or business will not get done. I called several of the clerks throughout Massachusetts. I spoke with Millbury, Concord, Sudbury, checked in with others. In each instance where there may not have been a quorum to start the meeting, they were able to bring enough people to the meeting to do the business of the town. The quorum is not intended to stop you from doing business, and I think many of us will agree with you that some of your business is not as interesting as others, but all of your business involves spending our money. And therefore, if we can, through communication and vigilance, encourage 100 people to come, we should do that. Secondly, the quorum is actually a legislative function. We are asking you to change a procedural step which is codified by the Massachusetts Code in Chapter 39, Section 13, right before Article 15 that you cited, in which it says specifically that any town who wishes to establish a quorum may do so. It is legislatively favored. Finally, yes, it is true that quorum numbers have shifted during COVID. And it is true that bringing people out in COVID is terrifying, particularly if you are in an age group that I am now, and I was reminded yesterday at Waters Farm, a member of, but happily so. But again, we can cure the apathy if you choose to cure it. But the answer to the cure is don't put a participation request in so that you don't show up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Diane Greenlaw, 20 Newton Drive in Sutton, a former member of the Finance Committee. Can you hear me okay? All right. So, voting is both a right and a privilege. As a member of the community, you have a choice to participate. In order to participate, you have choices to stay informed. The town of Sutton, not just our boards, but the town of Sutton cannot force individuals to attend and vote at town meeting. It is a privilege. You are all privileged and able to attend. You all have access to the information of when the town meeting occurs through our postings in newspapers that the Board of Selectmen do, in local community businesses, and it's available on, I believe, YouTube and our website. So there is information available for everyone, and people make the choice not to attend. It's not up to the town to have a quorum vote. It's up to people who are interested in the town to participate freely and willingly and not be called to come in and attend a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
John Belcafini, 75 Leland Hill Road. I think the quorum should be passed. I have noticed that since we put this on the warrant, that I'm getting a lot more, like from the communication people. I got a phone call the other day. We got a postcard. And I think that's why it prompted a lot of people to come here tonight. So I would like to have that around each town meeting to make all the communication. And I'd like to have the warrants mailed to people at for the town meetings. And as far as the communication by the computer, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about YouTube. I do not use the computer for commuting with people. Oh, and they also have a thing where they can, what's it called, reverse 911, that people can, you know, if you get it on the reverse 911, that helps too. But I think a lot of people are here because of the great communication that has been done by Pam, I think, and I don't know who else did it, but I think that would help to get more people at the town meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Paul Schaefer, 10 Uxbridge Road. I am in support of the article. And to me, it's a question of accountability. Just like we hold all the people up on the stage accountable to us, now it's our chance and our opportunity for us to hold each other accountable to ourselves. If an article needs to be supported or not supported, it's our job, not just theirs, to get yourself involved and to show up and educate yourself and be informed. But we've got to do it. We've got to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Ted Beauvais, 34 Armsby Road. I share a lot of, agree with a lot of what I've heard, but I guess I do have a concern where there's a quorum in place and not enough people show up at the appointed hour. And then people are called to show up. Now, that doesn't seem like who's called, you know? I mean, it seems like that's not the way to get people to come. When I moved here 8 years ago, I had a heck of a time even finding out about town meetings. And I do want to congratulate the town, particularly this round. There's a lot more communication, and as was mentioned, over-communication is good. Get the information out to people, and more people will show up. And if there's a major warrant item that's out there, lots of people will show up. But in any case, I think it's up to individuals. I think they need to know about it, and I don't favor having the quorum put into place.
Thank you.
Michael Whittier, 70 Torrey Road, Sutton. First of all, I want to thank everybody for giving my students a good show here tonight. They're here tonight to watch what Democracy in Action is all about. And I came to this meeting a little bit concerned both ways. I understand what the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen's concerns are. And as a civics teacher myself, of course I want people participating. What speaks to me is the fact that we've had 14 articles tonight, and this is the only one anybody's talked about. So getting your butts in the seats, great, but we need more people involved. I heard some people say, what the hell is OPEB? And nobody raised their hand to ask. That's part of being here. That's part of being part of this democracy. So yeah, I'm in favor of getting more butts in the seats. I don't want it to hamstring our government. I don't want to have to worry about when a budget's going to get passed or not. But if we're going to get people in the seat and we're going to market and whatever, then get involved. Get up here and speak. Ask that question, because I heard at least 3 people ask that question. I didn't ask that question. I know what OPEB is, but I know a lot of you don't. The planning board, my friends at the planning board, your stuff is pretty. Ask those questions. Oops, something just got out. That's just my point is, yeah, it's great and wonderful to have a quorum, but it's not going to matter if we just come here and go, yes, 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 yes.
Thank you.
Hello, James Marin, 80 Burbank Road. The reason that I'm here and the reason that I support the article regarding the quorum is like in the article regarding earth removal, in connection with a very significant project in this town. In connection with a very significant project that's occurring in this town, we discovered that the earth removal bylaw didn't directly respond to a very unique situation. It happens. We did the right thing. We proposed language that would close the ability for that to reoccur. I also witnessed an event, one of the most significant financial decisions made in the history of this town, a $48 million tax credit for that same project that we are all going to have to live with for the next 15 years, was made by 67 people. And as a resident of the town, I find that completely unacceptable. I'm not saying that if 300 people had showed up and voted, the outcome would have been different. But when you have decisions of that magnitude that we need to live with for the duration that we're going to have to live with, and when you superimpose current events like MBTA, affordable housing, and that decision may impact the future direction and have impacts on other things that are going to directly affect the residents of this town. I think everybody that's speaking against the quorum is being a little melodramatic. When you look at historic, even low attendances, we're talking about engaging tens of residents. Tens of residents. I have a hard time believing that that's an unachievable objective. And although I understand the logic behind the people that are sitting on the dais that didn't support it, I find it extremely disappointing that there isn't at least one individual that stepped forward and said, you know what, public engagement is good. I understand the consequences. We'll all work together to make sure that that event doesn't happen, and let's do something to. The future of this community is totally dependent on the engagement of its residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Martin Hopkins, 32 Wildflower Drive. I find it interesting that it seems to me that the sense I get is that most of the people here want the same thing, which is greater participation of the town people in its actions. I'm not sure how mandating a quorum accomplishes that. We have lots of people who didn't show up for lots of important votes. To think that people are going to show up simply because there's a new requirement that a quorum is present, as I'm not quite sure is going to be effective. I don't know if there's other means to try to increase participation short of handicapping the town and its representatives from conducting its business. What's going to happen? We're going to have 2, 3 town meetings in a row where maybe no quorum is reached and that business is just put on a standstill? I'm not quite sure how that's going to help us. So I think some of the suggestions of potentially an alternate way of improving participation, maybe spending the money and making mailings and have that reach out, would be potentially more effective than delaying town business for 6 months or 12 months and that has a cost to it. There's interest costs, there's other costs that are involved if the town business can't go forward. Now, I'm not any expert in how the town operates on a fiscal basis, but it seems to me if you don't take care of business for many months, that's going to cost the town in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. So Ray Nichols, 167 Burbank Road. Full disclosure, Board of Assessor member, one of the non-counted 27 people here. Quick question about the warrant. So if quorum isn't met at the beginning of meeting, does the meeting proceed?
We would have to wait until we got a quorum.
So
The meeting could not start unless you have the 100 people in the seats.
So whoever happens to be here with whatever agenda they have can call whatever have to basically move their agenda the way they want it to, is basically what you're saying.
I'm not saying it.
Well, I
promise, I
guess
didn't
it's
say it.
rhetorical. So I mean,
You're giving me that glaring look.
if you have 59 people against something and they can find 49 more people to show up to vote against it, that's what happens. So we're basically forcing a vote for people who don't want to show up. I mean, I guess the question is, I agree that we should be involved in our local town politics. I'm a new Sutton resident. I've only been here 21 years. I think I've been to 40-ish town meetings. I try to attend all of them. But if we're going to sit here and say you have to show up and be active in town politics, what's the penalty besides higher taxes for redoing things because we haven't done them for people who choose not to show up? I mean, I agree. I mean, I think we should all be involved in running our town. We live here, it's our town. We might not have grown up here, but we spent a lot of time here, and this is where we live, and we are proud of where we live. I think mandating somebody that you have to have a minimum number of people for, I agree with the empathy statement that people made, but mandating people to show up doesn't fix that problem. Getting people more involved and more in tune with the community is what we really need to have happen. Thank you.
Thank you. In the future, we're going to have to learn to line everybody up by height.
Yeah. All right.
Let's hear it for our microphone lady.
Mary Elizabeth Serpernot, 37 Dudley Lane. I think it's important to clarify that what I've heard tonight is selectmen, finance and warrant committee members, and even people opposed to this article agree that it is commendable to try to get more people to attend town meeting and be involved in our town decisions. However, I think it's important to realize that this article itself does not address marketing. And I'm hearing some people supporting this article because they believe it will result in more marketing, and then hence more people will come to the town meeting. It's important to understand those are two different things. Finally, if this quorum passes and we do not have enough people at town meeting, the reality is we will have to have another town meeting. We will have to get access to an area where people can meet again, and the fact that town business may not happen is frightening to me. So for that reason, I am against this article.
Thank you.
Want me to start singing? John Greenlaw, 20 Newton Drive. I think we heard great issues on both sides, but I think a lot of us have already come here with their mindset. If they haven't had their mindset, they've heard good points on both sides. So I'd like to make a motion to move the question to the floor, please.
Okay. I'm going to hold off on that request just yet. I'm going to leave these two people right here. Well, actually, you're right. I should know. So Carl, the former moderator, has corrected me because basically a motion has been put out on the floor. So the motion right now is to move the question to a vote. Okay, so we need to vote on that. It's just a majority vote. If so, then we will go to the voting of this article. So all of those who are in favor, sorry, point of order will come right after this. All those in favor, because I have to finish the motion. Okay, sorry. All those who want to move forward, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay. We are not going to move the question just yet. Okay? So, if there are other people that want to bring up their opinions, I please ask you to state your opinions, and then we can move on to the vote afterwards.
Thank you. Xanadu Caban, 48 Putnam Hill Road. I have a question. How many times have you sent out the postcard for other meetings before tonight?
You know, in the past, James Smith, 570 Mendon Road. In the past, the town has sent out warrants, but not recently. This postcard didn't come from the town. I think this postcard was printed by Christine Watkins and the Pro Group. So let me say that, you know, we can all learn. We're never too old to learn. So this May, we will be sending out the postcard, probably in late April, reminding people there's a town meeting. We're going to talk to Christine. We've already had these conversations throughout the past few days. So we're going to have this conversation. We're going to move forward. We're going to have at least postcards going to every household, letting them know there's a town meeting, letting them know what's on the warrant. We also, Pam Nichols in the communications department has done a great job with their website and YouTube and all the other social media avenues that they have, kind of reminding people that town meeting's coming. So we are still learning better ways to get more people in the seats. So I appreciate Christine and all the work that she did, but we will continue that, and the town will fund that through the May town meeting warrant.
Just a second question. I noticed the population in the meeting is not the younger demographic, and I participate in that Facebook demographic myself. How much does the town educate the population other than sending out the, you know, I didn't even know that this was on the agenda tonight. I just came because I come to all the town meetings. But do you advertise on Facebook? Not advertise, do you publish? Do you explain day by day what the warrants are?
Can you repeat that quick last part of that question? Do
you publish on Facebook the agenda and the meaning of the articles and allow a discussion group in social media?
We do, I think a handful of years ago, we started what was called a virtual town meeting warrant. So I typically present the warrant articles and talk about the meaning behind it, and I go into more detail. I describe what OPEB is, other post-employment benefits, which is essentially health care in the town of Sutton. But that's all part of the process preparing for town meeting. So we go through every article. When there's a planning article, I have the Planning and Economic Development Director, Jen Hager, sit with me, and she tries to go over those articles. We do the best we can to essentially educate the voters of what's on the warrant for the upcoming town meeting. Yeah, we do have Finance Committee public hearings every article. Typically in the spring, there are 3 nights of public hearings where they have back and forth debate. Folks can come to those public hearings and render your opinion and so forth. So, yes,
Okay.
we do.
My request to the town is that you publish more in social media. That you, even if you turn off the comments so that you don't get a discussion that you don't want to have on Facebook or have to respond, I think you need to publish more about what is happening in the town, such as the Sutton Police has a fabulous site. I'm part of Waters Farm, and I donate a lot of time to the town. I just feel that there isn't enough published to the younger demographic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip Rue, 12 Jones Road. I've been listening to the discussion, and I read the warrant. I kind of believe in my heart that it's trying to address a problem with a method that may not be the one that people in their hearts really have been saying. It's more of an issue of communication and enlightenment and not numerical numbers and a quorum. I'm going to leave you with this paradox. How many of you are here tonight primarily because you got the postcard? Go ahead, raise your hands. I don't know if there's 100 there, but let's just say all of you who got the postcard or got notified of this town meeting came here expressly because of Article 14. If that's 100 people or more, do you promise to come to every town meeting from now on to be part of that majority? Because if most of the folks who've come here tonight came only for Article 14 and don't show up for the other 13, then you've kind of restricted us. I 100% believe in participation. I 100% believe you'll get the participation with a higher level of communication and not with a quorum that is more forceful than it is, provocative. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get right up close, I promise. My name is Joe DeLiso. I live at 372 Boston Road. I wouldn't normally have contributed to this conversation except for this. I'd like to address everyone that's in the audience. When we come to this vote, I would suggest that we keep in mind what the original purpose of quorum was. There are 2 types of government in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. One is a representative style, which most of the cities follow. And then there is the town meeting style, which was the original type in the Commonwealth, in which we retain here in Sutton. If we are concerned about being able to do the business without necessarily members of the community being there voting for, consider that we are essentially supporting a representative style of government, which I'm potentially fine with, right? That's one way to do it. The purpose of the quorum in any organization is essentially to put a burden not on the people that are coming, and that's not where the burden falls. When you have a quorum requirement, the burden falls on leadership. It is a requirement of leadership to get the voters, the necessary number of people to come out and support their initiative. That's what it does. So what we're really, whoever put this forward is truly suggesting a burden on the town manager and the town leaders that if they want to have something accomplished, they have to raise enough support to bring that many people in. And that's the purpose of a quorum in an organization. It protects us. Essentially, it's a protection against a small group doing something. It's as simple, I think, as that. Thank you. Thank you.
John L. Hebert, 23 Singletary Ave. I am 72 years of age, and I've lived on Singletary Ave for all of my life. I also served the town of Sutton in public service for 50-plus years. I am here tonight to oppose and vote no on the citizens' petition at hand, and I want to tell you, the voters and citizens of Sutton, why. I have read the names of voters who are for the 100-person quorum for all annual, spring, and fall town meetings. For the record, you are all good people. I should and do know most of you, but let me begin according to documented town records from May 12th, 2008 through October 18th, 2021, totaling 14 years of town meetings, 28 town meetings held, 13 of 26 town meetings would not have been held without a quorum of 100. Also, 2 were held during COVID with very low attendance. Please keep in mind that the fall town meetings are generally less attended as they focus on cleanup articles by boards, and we revote the fiscal year budget from the May town meeting so we can move forward with town business at hand. This petition passes tonight. At times, we will not meet the quorum of 100. We would have to suspend our meetings until another date and time to be scheduled, including money spent for meetings until another date and time, and staffing at all criteria spent on other meetings. To be blunt, our town would shut down indirectly, not guaranteeing that we would have 100 citizen voter quorum at large. Hopefully, this won't be jeopardizing our financial stability. I know that many of you are not happy with the industrial site project in Wilkinsonville. I hear you. I do agree it has changed our landscape. Some of you had problems and hardships with this project, but going back in history, when we as a town voted for a new high school, middle school project on May 10th, 2010, the article passed needing 2/3 vote for $60 million. The general contractor was fired by the town for unsatisfied work, and Bright Construction Corporation was hired to complete the school project. We as a town were able to resolve problems and hardships, not going into receivership. And now look what we have, K through 12 in one complex. What town would not want this? We have also been able to upgrade our bond rating to a AA plus so that we can borrow money at the least common denominator. This low borrowing rate has saved the town of Sutton taxpayers on our $60 million and $8+ million school and police projects. The Bond Rating Board keeps a watchful eye on our town government and our daily operating criteria. We are a very small, selected few who have a AA plus rating, again, to borrow money at the least common denominator, saving us big bucks. We cannot afford to lose our AA plus rating due to not having a more stable 100-count quorum. If we have secured TIF projects in the past, having Prime Metals and IBA relocate to our southern industry park from Worcester and Millbury. Tonight I ask all of you to vote no and defeat this petition in the best interests of the town. We will get through this. Keeping Sutton, Sutton. Support the known facts, not emotions. Our town meeting protocol has always worked well. We do not need to change our system of government. Finally, a no vote is supported by our honorable select board and our finance committee. And through you, Mr. Moderator, I would like to ask two very simple questions. One would be, why now? And the second question would be, a yes vote, what will we gain from what we've had for so many years that our system has worked so well? Thank you for the opportunity for letting me to speak.
Thank you.
All set? Thank you. Well, I don't know how I follow up after that. Anyway, I'll be the first to admit I don't go to every single town meeting.
Can you name?
Keith Downer, 334 Boston Road in Sutton. I've gone to many town meetings at the old elementary school where it was packed. Before we had a microphone, we had to all walk up to you, you'd stand up and say what you had to say. My notes say here that I was going to applaud the clerk, the select board, and the chair of the FinCom for sending out that card, but Mr. Smith, you took my air right out of my balloon.
Sorry, Keith.
So I applaud Christine Watkins for doing that because that got a lot of people here tonight. I'm gonna ask that everybody here turn their warrant to page 1, please, and read the second sentence. And the second sentence clearly says what should be happening here tonight. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Sutton qualified to vote in said town elections and town affairs to assemble at the middle school tonight like we are. I think that card and that reverse 911 or whatever it was that came to my house certainly helped. So I'm happy that the town's now going to adopt that in the future. But I would have a question through the moderator to town council. There's been fears of a standstill budget tonight. can we ask town council, if you do not get a quorum, does the budget still continue at a 15% number until the next meeting? There is a budget that still continues town affairs, is that correct?
I think it's 1/12 of the budget
I was close. Actually, yours is higher.
from the previous year, so it's not the.
So there is a
upcoming
budget, and
It
things
goes
run,
back-
is that
It
correct?
goes back to the other, the preceding budget.
Okay, is it correct that then the town will still continue to operate?
Correct.
Thank you. I just
With-
want to make sure that people in this room understand that the police department can still do what they need to do and the fire department. So
They-
nothing stands still and just stops. We still have school, we still do everything else. Other than that, if we don't have a quorum, maybe we get a couple town employees that are working that night to come back down here and fill in the extra 10 bodies we need. Thank you.
So just clarification on the last one, okay? So yes, life goes on, but it'll go on at 1/12 of the budget, okay? So yes, the world would continue, but you'd eventually run into financial hardship, right? And you cannot set the tax rate until the budget is approved. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, again, good evening. Norman Champagny, 72 8 Lots Road. My question is, I actually questioned myself, why now? And I think it's a matter of behavior. What we're seeing lately as a whole is that it has changed behavior as a whole. I'm here because I'm reading a lot of material, what's going on today, as a whole worldwide, and I made a decision, right, about 6, 7 months ago, also like 3, 4, is to get engaged and to read more what's going on in local, because local politics is global politics. So I think it's a matter of behavior. Spread the word for more matter engagement in civics, because we all need civics. We all become lazy, guilty as charged, right? But goodness spreads, right? As there's more participation increases, goodness is going to increase. I have high hopes that the country is changing. Local politics is global politics, and I think we can get more local participation with us Suttonians. So I'm more positive if it's a yes vote. I think it's going to change good behavior. I think it comes to leadership, as it was mentioned, to change the behavior to get more participation, get more ideas engaged. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Anzie Kangas, 67 Griggs Road. Anzie Kangas, 67 Griggs Road. I just wanted to speak to the fact of the communication. Most people think that some of us young ones are on social media. I actually struggle finding information about our town. I'm not on social media. I saw signs out. I got a thing in the mail. I don't have time to be on your website digging through the website because it's actually not convenient. That some of us need things not on the internet. I do think that whoever spoke about social media, that there should be more information, there should. There should be more on social media, but there also should be information for all of us that are not on social media. There has to be a combination of both, because otherwise not everybody is getting the same information. So communication is I think, the whole point in this whole thing. So,
Thank you. If somebody from the Finance Committee would like to say something, go ahead.
Jared Quill, 5 Brookside Drive. I'd just like to say, on behalf of the committee, we're all for transparency, communication, and participation. So there's nobody that's against that. What I do want to say is we had 11 articles this evening that moved money in some way, that all got passed without questions. Mr. Whittier mentioned that. How many of you know how much of that money was moved proportionally to how much was moved last year? Was it twice as much, 3 times as much, 5% more? Was it less? I'd argue most of you voted yes to move money when you had no idea the context of that money being moved. So I would encourage more participation, but I also don't want to see the town go to a 1/12 budget and have things be held up, or have our borrowing rate change and have more burden be put on all of us because we're not participating. I would encourage us to participate more through increased communication and see what we can get. And so we discussed this on the Finance Committee, if you watched it on YouTube or if you came in person, where we would like to see this. We would like to see more numbers come. But I like to see a new norm, a new steady rate norm before we set what the floor looks like. Is 100 right? Is 200 right? We don't know. It's just it's a number being thrown out there. I'd love to see increased participation through these new communication methods before we set a number or even decide to set a number. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Watkins, 65 McClellan Road. This is directed directly to Jared. For this fiscal 2023, what's the total OPEB amount that the town has approved for the town appropriations?
I apologize, I couldn't hear you. You want to know? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you asking what the total budget for OPED is?
Yes.
So through the moderator, can we direct the question to?
No, I'm asking the Finance and Warrant Committee. I'm asking you. I'm not asking Tim. I'm asking the Finance and Warrant Committee. For 2023, under the town appropriation on the OPEB funding schedule that has 4 funding lines: town appropriation, employee contributions, employer, and investment income. What number am I going to see on the 2023 line for town appropriation for 2023?
We can look it up for you.
I can tell you, it's $950,000. $100,000 was approved at the Maytown meeting under the employee benefits line. You approved $500,000 from the, basically where you got the $1.4 million for Article 2 was you did a buyback of the 20-year lease payments. So you took a lump sum payment of $1.4 million. So now that communications tower does not have to be paid over 20 years. You took a $1.4 million payment. You present valued the future payments. You took $400,000 of free cash, $500,000 is going to roadways, $500,000 into OPEB. Article 3 then moved $350,000 into OPEB according to the Select Board's funding methodology, which I believe has to do something with the amount of free cash. So since 2019, you've increased your OPEB by 1.5 million. So we're at 3 million funding for OPEB right now, and of the 79% of the towns in Massachusetts that are funding their OPEB, 53% as of 2019, we're at 1%. Sutton's at 4.8% as of 2021. I can't see the 22 numbers, and the 23, we just added another 950 just to the town appropriation amount. So, how did I get all this? I had to go to the finance page, I had to go to the town manager's page, I had to go to the town clerk's page. I had to look at the audited financial statements, the annual report, the budget summaries, and then I had to go confirm all the amounts through the warrant articles. I then reached out to the select board to question how we ended up refinancing that lease agreement without going to town meeting. We have to vote on a $3,500 error in an Excel spreadsheet for plumbing inspection, but no one had to approve the 1.4 million change in the way we were going to receive payments for the communication tower. So yes, I can do this because I'm a CPA. The average person, Ms. Kangas, cannot. And you didn't know the answer to it either, but I do. So that's why we're saying we need to have more people so that more people understand why it's important to go to the Finance and Warrant Committee meeting when they're reviewing the warrant. And also, I think the draft warrant should be given to people prior to both the select board meeting and the FinCom meeting. Because when you don't have the numbers or the warrant in front of you before you attend the meeting, you don't know what you're talking about. And I had to go up and look what OPEB is. And you know what else? The OPEB schedule is presented differently in the annual report than it is in the audited report. I think the retiree premiums and benefits are netted in the audited one and not in the annual report. So there are people out there who can figure this stuff out, but we need access to it. And what we're saying is that we need to have better communication, we need more transparency, and we need to have time to look up these articles, because how many people here knew that one of the things we had to approve was the town manager's salary? Part of it in May, they missed the calculation, so we had to add 11,000. And then the Excel spreadsheet didn't foot for the plumbing area, so we had to approve that. So we're approving minuscule things, and then a big thing like a change in how we're going to receive our payments for the tower doesn't have to be approved by anyone. So yeah, some of us out here are a little bit pissed off.
You want to comment? So you just let it go, you want to comment? Comment or just let it go?
I can appreciate that discussion, but I think it's not exactly what we're here to vote on Article 14. Okay, so let's make sure that we understand why we're here and what we are going to vote on. Okay, so at this point, I am going to move the question. We're going to stop the discussion phase. And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, is I think it's very important because it could potentially change the scope of how we do town meetings in the future. So I believe we have now 3 tellers, correct, Laura? Three tellers? That I'm going to ask, do we have our 3 tellers, by the way? Can I ask them to please stand up? We got to see 2. There he is. Jeff didn't want to stand up. That's all right. Okay. So I think we've already assigned sections. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask for a hand vote. Okay. The tellers are going to have their own section, and they're going to tally the votes. And what I'd also like to do, I don't have to do this, but I'm going to invite Mrs. Watkins up here just to make sure that we are transparent and we can tabulate the votes together. So, let's move. All those in favor of Article 14, please signify by holding your hand up and keep it up. This is for yes. This is for yes. You approve Article 14 as it's written in the warrant. We got up here as well. Okay, that one was for voting yes. All those not in favor of Article 14, please signify by raising your hand. Christine, would you like to come up? Okay. So I think all the votes have been tabulated, and I'm in a very unique position as the town moderator. I can't offer my opinion. The only time that I can break a vote is if I want to, is if it's tied, and that's it. So I can't offer my opinion, but I will tell you this. If anybody's ever come to a town meeting that I have been in charge with since I took over from Mr. Licapoli in 2015, I have often said, congratulations, you 43 people. You have made the decisions for 10,000 people. So I can't say whether I'm for or against a quorum. But what I did here tonight, which I thought was fantastic, a couple of things. The communication needs to improve. I think everybody realizes the communication needs to improve. And the second part of it is, it shouldn't stop here. Whether it's voted down or not, it should not stop here with people showing up for their town meeting. You are making the decisions for 10,000 plus people. I think somebody wrote down on that card, 2 hours of your time, correct? 2 hours of your time twice a year. That's not asking a lot to shape the future of this town. So please, regardless of what this vote does, I hope it at least opened your eyes that you are the answer. You're part of what happens here. Okay? They work for you. I work for you. So please, continue to show up to these meetings. Thank you. I have the final vote. The yes vote was 88. The no vote was 109. I declare that the Article 14 does not pass the proposal. Okay? All right? Okay. So I've said my piece, and I hope everybody has heard me. Okay? So even though the article was defeated, I commend Mrs. Watkins for what she's trying to do here. If nothing else, this should open our eyes to what our obligation is to this town. So for that, I thank you, and the town thanks you. I'll now take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
A second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those who are opposed, thank you very much.